Welcome back to Manifest with Armine. My name is Armine and I'm a law of attraction consultant, and here is the long-awaited video, by me at least, and some of you, about how I began the biggest part of my journey about learning the law of attraction and really transforming my own life. So I'd like to make this relatively short. I have an ebook I've written about this, about the entire thing, and it's not that long. It's like a 30-page or something ebook. This is way before coaches started making ebooks to get more clients, to give freebies, or as lead magnets. This is before that, and I had my ebook on Amazon. I think I still have it on Amazon, but I don't have a link to it for my website, which I should have, and I will link it below here so you guys can read if you like. So, when I was about 17 years old, I went from being a very enthusiastic teenager who loved my high school, was involved in like a million extracurricular activities, honor student, on scholarship to high school. I went from that to going through something that I didn't really understand, and I didn't want to label it, but what it was depression, and I started to have low self-esteem, and I didn't really admit that to myself because I thought, well, no, I know my worth, I know I'm good, I know, what my value is, but I knew those things intellectually. I didn't know them. I wasn't feeling them, and that's what really matters, right? To feel those things. So what happened was, slowly, several things happened at that time, and I started to really not care about my schoolwork. I started to not go to the class meetings. I was in a mentoring program in school where we would mentor the younger kids, and I stopped showing up for those things. And honestly, when everyone was applying for college, I was not enthusiastic about that at all, which is weird because I was expected to with my parents, because I have educated parents, and I loved school. I had loved school, but anyway, I did apply to college anyway. I got scholarship to St. John's University, and I went there, started to go there, and then I started not showing up to class because it was just easier to not go. I had a hard time getting myself out of bed in the mornings, yada yada yada. If you guys know about depression, you know about all that good stuff, right? So what happened was, I ended up spending a lot of time on the computer, and I ended up spending time in chat rooms. Well, one chat room mostly was people of my part ethnicity, and which was fun because there was not a lot of people where I lived from where my family was from. So I spent a lot of time in that chat room, and then I talked to different people, and just for fun, because I didn't want to get out of the house. I wore my nightgown, my pajamas most days, and then I ended up talking to somebody who decided that they wanted to marry me. Mind you, I was 18, and of course this idea sounded crazy to me, but I guess eventually, it's true that after a while, like the most like random thing that you think, yeah, I never do this, if you just don't turn away from it, it starts to sound normal. So so I did that, and I had low self-esteem, and I didn't feel like running away from it. And until that point in my life, I figured if something's wrong for me, if something is not right for me, if something's not for me, then I would feel like running away from it. And I didn't feel like running away from this, so I thought, okay, this person is pretty convinced that I'm the one for them, so I'm gonna go with that. I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna go with that. Mind you, this meant traveling across the country and moving, because that was part of the agreement. And so, though it sounded crazy at first, I didn't have any desire for anything else in my life at that point, and I did it. I thought I was doing something good. I was being a traditional girl, and I was getting married. I got engaged when I was 19, I got married when I was 20, and I found myself in a community where I felt different. I felt very different from the people around me. I mean, a small example, maybe it's not a great example, but definitely an example was that girls here are here, as in Los Angeles. I was from New York, and I came to Los Angeles, and I realized that people were very interested in the way they look and the way. Now, this is not. Sorry, I don't mean to generalize about all Los Angeles people. This is the community that I came into. People seem to be very concerned about the way they look and the way they dress, as part of that, and the way that they come off to people as how much maybe money they have, or a lot of girls my age were already raised to value those things, and a lot of people get married very young here in that community. So though it was very odd for me to get married at that age for a New Yorker, it wasn't very young for over here for someone to get married. Anyway, so I'm married into a good family. They're not a bad family at all. Good family. Very different from what was right for me, but I used the reasoning that they were a good family as to why that was right for me. And then as soon as I moved here, it just didn't feel. I felt sad. I didn't feel good. I was already depressed for several years, so that kind of spiraled. After a few years, get a baby, and at that point, I knew that. I think it was the day we came home. I came home from the hospital with the baby. Just whatever happened, that situation that day, I knew that. I was like, what did I do? What did I get myself into? Because now I'm in it. Now I'm in it for good. Because I didn't believe in divorce. I just thought, oh my God, it's divorce. Getting married is like an adoption. It's like you adopt a family member. You don't just break that. You don't just give a person back. And so I was not happy, but I did not tell anybody. Nobody, not my family. I just became a little bitter. I was very quiet. Nobody really seemed to ask me what I ever thought, that community anyway. I just stayed quiet to myself, and then eventually my depression was bad enough that I need to seek help. So I found that my insurance covers therapy, counseling, so I did see a therapist once. I think I went 3 times altogether, or twice. But the first time I went, I just purged everything, and I got to the point where I realized that it's not a question of whether or not I should get divorced. It was, when am I going to get divorced? So that was very difficult for me. At the same time, it kind of, as soon as I accepted that, it's like the sun came out. The sun came out, and it shone on my world, and I realized that, wow, I might actually have a chance now at being happy. And I didn't know what that was, but I knew about the law of attraction at this point, and I knew that feeling light and feeling myself was the best possible thing at that moment. And I wasn't worried about the house. I didn't have my own income, so at least not like a full-time income where I could support myself, so that didn't make sense. But I think Anais Nin has a quote, and I'm not using the right words, but it's something about when it becomes too painful for a bud to be tightly closed, that's when it chooses to blossom, because the pain of blossoming becomes less than the pain of being closed tight. And that's what it really was for me. It just became so uncomfortable to be what I was being or pretending to be, that I had to blossom, and I didn't realize that what I was doing was blossoming. And I didn't want to tell my family that we're getting divorced, because I felt very guilty about it. I had made a big fuss about getting married in the first place, and that I insisted, when I've always been a goody two-shoes and all that stuff, that I got up and got married and moved across the country. And I did not want to admit that they were, not that I didn't want to admit they were right, but I didn't want them to worry about me, and I didn't want their fears to come true, basically, because that's what it was, that's what my mom was fearing, that I made the wrong decision, and that I was gonna have a hard time for it. And so after telling his family, after he's telling his I think my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, that we were not staying together, and I told my aunt that we were not staying together, or I'm not sure if I had told my aunt yet, but anyway, well, soon after that, my mom passed away, and that was, at that point, I had just kind of like, I didn't care anymore. Like, I didn't care. Who cares, you know, if I'm divorced? Who cares what anyone thinks? Because I was most afraid of telling my parents, you know, my mom specifically. So once she had passed, I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna pretend anything anymore. So we told everybody, and lo and behold, as soon as we did that, I had started doing my attracting a good relationship thing in my mind, because I knew I was done with that relationship. I mean, we had been separated for long before we actually told, you know, when we were getting divorced. We were separated, as in, like, we were not a couple. So when I would go to sleep at night, I would feel good, and I felt this lightness, because I had already removed the aspects of my life that were making me feel tense and uneasy and not me, you know. So as soon as I let go of that, I had admitted that I'm getting divorced, like I'm actually divorced, then, and that it was best for everybody in the family, then this lightness came over me, and I felt like, okay, and I don't know how things are going to work out from this point on, but I felt good. I felt like, I don't know how it's going to happen, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel good. I feel good thinking about what might happen. Mind you, I had no idea what was exactly going to happen. And what did happen was, after a few months, not too long, of going to sleep, and this is what I would say to myself. I would say, I would lay down, I would relax my muscles, relax my shoulders, lay down, and I would feel arms around me, and I would repeat really slowly. I would say, I deserve your love. I deserve your love. I deserve your love. And I would let the words sink in slowly, and that does its thing, you know, that has an emotional reaction. You know, something happens to you emotionally when you really let that sink in. And I followed it with, thank you for loving me. And while still feeling those arms around me, there was no face on this person in my imagination. There was someone who I wanted it to be, but I knew at that point that it could be that person, but I knew that I wanted the right relationship that feels the way I'm feeling right now. And so I deserve your love. Thank you for loving me. And then I let that feeling go through me. And then soon after that, I realized that when I'd go around to stores, I felt good. I felt good shopping, because I had not felt good doing things alone before, but I felt good going shopping. I felt good. I would go to the intimate apparel section, and I would actually like buy a couple things and feel good about it. I would like store it in the closet, because I knew that I was going to use that. I felt like, yeah, this is good, because I want to have that type of relationship that feels fulfilling and on so many different levels. So this story has already been long so far, considering I usually make short videos, but what ended up happening was somebody who actually happens to be the only other friend who I had here in Los Angeles, who I was not allowed to have contact with because he's a male. So the entire 7 years I was married, I did not keep in touch with this friend so much. But I had a crush on him before I got married, and I was so unfamiliar with what attraction is, what real attraction is, that I didn't know what that feeling was. So I knew I liked him as a friend, I knew I really liked who he was, but none of it made sense until we contacted each other and we met up. And that night it was like, imagine when you do your most intense visualization session and you feel so good, and even if you could fall asleep feeling that good, imagine that just multiplied, intensified, and yet the light. And it just felt like everything happened for this moment. When he held me in his arms, it was like, it was exciting, it was warm, it was soothing, it was definitely adventurous. It was so exactly what I wanted, and I didn't even know that I could want something that great, and that's how good it felt. It was his, until I felt, even before I felt his arms around me, like before that, I value him for his so many parts of his personality. He, when I was living in New York, we used to actually send each other poems that we would write, not to each other, we didn't write them to each other, like they weren't love poems, but we shared many views, similar views on things, and we used to both like to write poetry, so we would send our poems to each other, our writings, and we would read them and appreciate them, and we would talk about things. We both had an unconventional way of seeing the community here. He's very, very skilled and talented artist. He plays the piano beautifully. When I always knew he was smart, but that first day that I saw him, I was so just like in awe at how intellectually stimulated I was by listening to him talk. I had actually, when I got divorced, when I decided to get divorced, to make it official, I didn't think that there was a moment, moments here and there where I thought, yeah, I can't take any man's like thing, like I can't, how can I do that when I can't even handle myself? How can I take another person's personality and habits and whatever? But yeah, like I also never really realized that someone this compatible, someone who I appreciated so much in so many different ways, would walk into my life, that I would walk into his life. So it's not a coincidence that I aligned with it and then it appeared in my life in the perfect way. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't even question it, because I knew that if I give it a how or a few hows, then it wouldn't be able to manifest in its perfect way, and it really did manifest in its perfect way. We've been together for 7.5, but officially 7 years, I guess, yesterday. 7 years yesterday, and I know him for 17 years, and my daughter, older daughter, loves him. We had a daughter together a year and a half ago, and he's an excellent father, which I knew he would be. He's like a kid, but better. So that's my story, kind of, at least snippets of it put together. And as soon as you stop pushing it to happen, as soon as you stop trying to give it a timeline, then you're actually letting things happen in such a perfect way. And my advice to you is don't compromise on what is in store for you just because you have the habit of worrying about it. You're not alone. A lot of people have the habit of worrying about it, when the right person's going to come, how it's going to be. Don't worry about boundaries, because our there's a love coach. She calls herself a love coach. Yeah, she's a relationship love coach in here in Los Angeles, and I guess she was rated number one love coach, I guess, and I follow her sometimes, like in my feed on Instagram, and she has a husband who they've been together for a few years, and she says that they never fight. They've never fought. Like, they've never once fought. And so she has a good, peaceful relationship, and she teaches others how to have a peaceful relationship like that, or to manifest one. And I'd like to say that my relationship is not like that, where we never fight. It is not like that. We love passionately, we fight passionately, and honestly, I think that's what I was needing or looking for, because without actually being aware of it, because it keeps things alive for me. It you know, as stressful as ups and downs can be, or stressful as different emotions can be, that's just how we are, or how we are sometimes, and I wouldn't change it for anything, because I never really cared so much about a relationship that I would be so easily hurt by anything, you know, and that's part of it, you know, when you love each other a lot, and maybe it's not that case in the other coaches' relationship, that's okay, because some people don't seek that from their relationship, or don't need that from their relationship, but I believe that in our relationship, that has helped us to evolve a lot. We love passionately, we fight passionately when we do, and we have been through so much together, and we are going through so much together, that I'm really, really grateful for all the experiences we've had together. I feel like when I started seeing him, my man, when I started seeing him, what happened was I came to that relationship already having been married and having a child, but I didn't become a woman until I started seeing him, until he came into my life, and I experienced my relationship with him, and I experienced being with him on so many different levels. That's when I became a woman, and I still feel like a girl sometimes, but yeah, I became a woman not from being married and having a child. It happened when I had a relationship, when I started my relationship with him. And I don't know, if you have any questions, let me know. That's how we came about. And then as for like how I started teaching law of attraction after that, is because well, I did not want a conventional job, because I had had that before, and we're both creative. He and I are both creative people. We're not so much 9-to-5 people, although we can do it, but I wanted to honestly be the one to take my daughter to school in the morning and pick her up from school. So I was pursuing real estate. I had a real estate license for several years, and then I was doing real estate. But honestly, instead of doing real estate, what I was doing was I was researching law of attraction, I was learning about law of attraction, I was taking courses in law of attraction, and I was experimenting with law of attraction. And then several years later, I thought, I'm just gonna write a book. I'm gonna write a book about how we met, because that's kind of something I have in me, and I want to write about it. I love to write. I love to write. And then I wrote that ebook, and then I was like, okay, so now what? And then I realized that there are people who appreciate that information. There are people who had questions, and then so I thought, well, I realized that there's this thing called coaching, and I don't call myself a coach anymore, because I think the word coach is a little bit not exactly what the relationship is. It's definitely consulting, because I share my information, I share my knowledge, my experience, my expertise, if you will, and it's up to you if you take it or not. I will cheer you on, I will cheer my clients on all the time, but when a team, truly a coach is when the team comes together under a coach, let's say in a sport, right? And there's already an agreement that we're gonna implement everything we practice. So in the same way, that's what a coaching relationship should really be. But what's happened is that there's so many coaches now, and there's so many different types of coaching relationships that what happens is a lot of people hire a coach, and then they don't really implement what's talked about during the sessions. That's why I don't do sessions. I'll do sessions, but I don't charge by session anymore. I do with some clients that I've had from before. But what I do is now I have a 90-day consulting package. So pretty much it's not cheap, but I do, I help for free on YouTube, but my consulting package is not cheap. It's a 90-day package for $3,000. And basically, if you need a session, we'll do a session. Is that session going to be 60 minutes, 45 minutes? Probably not. Sometimes it'll be over an hour, sometimes it'll be 5 minutes, sometimes it'll be 20 minutes. If you think that the more time you spend in a session is going to equal your results, then that's not true. Actually, the reason I've switched to this structure is because I think there are so many times during Skype sessions with clients that we reached a point in the session where there was a really deep understanding of some concept, and it was a perfect place for that person to go and like fall asleep with it, or to go and apply it right away, you know. But the clock was ticking and they paid for a session, so we would continue session, and then when that 45 minutes or hour was over, then that momentum was gone, because we're just talking about spiritual things and law of attraction and how things are cool. So I don't think that if you're someone who wants to do like the session thing, then that's cool. It will help. It has its thing, but for myself, I found that it's most effective if I'm just this person's personal consultant for law of attraction. There are certain areas in their life they want to improve, and they can email me anytime. I'm pretty quick to respond. They can do a session, usually within a day's notice or 2 days notice. If I'm available, I'll do it on the spot, and then we can, you know, talk about things, and they can get quick advice or some insight that they need, and I'm not going to be limited to, hey, when we're working together, it's within this hour, and we're just going to squeeze everything we can into this hour, whether or not this is what you need right now. And that just wasn't working for me. I'm sure that it has benefits, but yeah, in that way it wasn't working for me, so I don't charge by session anymore. I just do consulting as needed basis. I'm there for my personal clients, and that's why I don't charge per session, and it's a 90-day consultation package. I am donating, not donating, but yeah, I'm giving basically half of my income now. I've decided to give to those who need it, and so after my expenses, I'm only keeping half of what I charge clients, because I think that's something that is important to me, because I enjoy giving, and it also motivates me, because honestly, when I know that I'm charging clients and there isn't some kind of benefit to other people, in the sense of that money is only just going straight to me, for some reason I'm just not as motivated as when I know that I'm helping bring money to people who really need it. So there you go. That's my story. That's why I became a coach or consultant, and I think by now you guys know that I don't use words exclusively. My words change constantly, because words are vibration, as you know if you've watched my other videos. Alright, well, I just got a message from my lover boy, so I will cut this short. If you guys have any questions, please comment below, and if anyone's still watching by now, please comment below, and I will answer them as quickly as possible. And if you want more insight or whatever on the whole relationship thing, let me know. If you're more interested about my consulting package, then you can comment below, or you can email me at hello@manifestwitharmine.com. That's hello@manifestwitharmine.com. You know how to spell it because you're already on my channel. Thank you. If you like this video, please click like, and if you'd like to subscribe, please press subscribe and click the little bell.